Remember Pearl Harbor. Remember what said President Roosevelt about the day of the Japanese raid, the day of infamy. Remember this day when fleet of the Japanese Empire struck US Navy Pearl Harbor. Remember the wreck of the USS Oklahoma and the fantastic deflagration of USS Arizona. Remember all the dead men in that tragic day. They were all gunmen, men, soldiers and sailors who fought for their country. During the attack in their battleship, they were drowned, burned, crushed by the part of the battleship, or killed by the explosion. Try to imagine their surprise about this air raid. Imagine their own tragedy. If you go to Pearl Harbor, look and visit the sad memorial of USS Arizona, sunk in the blue waters of Pearl Harbor. If you want to know and understand how such this tragedy could happen, so it is after that. Hi, I speak to you from France. I am Bagnan Taillefer, French medieval blacksmith and historian. My passion is medieval history and history of the 20th century. I am so interested about weapons, guns, tanks, aircraft of the Second World War. I have some friends in USA, in England, in Poland, and they can't understand French language. So I decided to talk to you in English. So please try to forget my French accent. But now, listen to the ghost of the past. There is a very nice place in the Pacific Ocean. A nice place with blue waves, with very nice beaches. This place is Pearl Harbor. There is an island called Oahu. In this island, there is the military Pearl Harbor base. It is the more fantastic US Navy base in the Pacific Ocean. In 1941, Pearl Harbor have several radars, but those which equip the battleship are really ineffective because of the mountain in the north of the island. There is a good radar station at Opana Point in the northwest end of Oahu Island. But radar specialists of the Navy were unable to interfere with the result of the radar. In addition, a group of Flying Fortress B-17 bombers was expected on the island. The confusion was very easy to do, so the surprise about flying fleet of the Japanese aircraft was perfect. In the morning of Sunday, December the 7th, it is 7 o'clock past 50 minutes when the first Japanese planes of the Kido Butai begin to drop their bomb over US Navy battleships. The Kido Butai is the name of the naval force of the Japanese. They were the best planes of the Japanese industry. For example, the Nakajima B5N2 torpedo bomber. It's called Kate under US Naval Code. There was the Mitsubishi A6M2 fighter. The code name is ZEKE. And the Aichi D3A strike bomber. His name code is VAL. At all, there were more than 180 planes. So try to imagine the soldiers of the base and the sailor begin to hear the sound of the Japanese aircraft. The aircraft fly over no more than 10 meters over the earth, and soldiers begin to understand that the planes are Japanese because they have the red circle emblem on their wings. And now, if you are a soldier, you have two choices to make. You can try to hide to evade the bullets and the bombs, and you can try to fight. But all the soldiers were very surprised because a Japanese raid over Pearl Harbor was impossible, the headquarters said. Because between Japan and Pearl Harbor they are 6,500 kilometers. And an aircraft carrier can't travel on so long distance. So you see the zero in the sky, several meters next to you. You can take your rifle. The rifle is the M1 Garand, a very good rifle. And you can try to aim and to shoot all the planes. Very difficult. The sailors in the battleship go to the defense post and begin to shout bombers and fighter planes with machine gun like the M1 Browning 50 caliber or 40 millimeters anti-aircraft gun Bofors. Some soldiers succeed to shout and to destroy zero with that weapon. After several minutes, the sound of bombing is coming to you. Planes fly over Battleship Row. Japanese pilots aim the more famous battleship in the Pacific Ocean. They are east to west on the south of Ford Island. First, USS Nevada. She's alone. After, USS Arizona, linked board to board with USS Vestal, a repair ship. After, USS Tennessee with USS West Virginia. After, USS Maryland with USS Oklahoma. And in the west, alone, USS California. Admiral ship of the Pacific Fleet, the USS Pennsylvania, is a dry bilge vessel on dock number 1. Battleships are moored outboard one by one. The first to be attacked is the USS California, which receives a 250 kilo bomb. After, West Virginia is hit by several torpedoes. USS Arizona explodes in a terrible deflagration. She sinks with 1,177 men. USS Oklahoma, hit by bombs and torpedoes, capsizes and turns around. She sinks with 415 men. USS California and USS West Virginia sink and rest at the bottom of the harbor. USS Maryland, USS Tennessee, USS Pennsylvania have only little damages. USS Nevada escaped but stranded. Only USS Arizona and USS Oklahoma were lost. The other battleships were repaired and resumed the fight. So, what may we think about this Japanese raid over Pearl Harbor? If we consider the tactical aspect, it seems to be very successful from the Japanese side, because they lost only 64 men and 29 aircraft. From the American side, losses in men are 2,403 died men and 1,178 wounded men. Losses in material are 4 sunk battleships, 4 damaged battleships, 3 cruisers and 3 destroyers sunk, 181 destroyed aircraft and 155 damaged aircraft. So it seems very successful, but in fact, Japanese Empire did a terrible strategic error. No one of the 3 US Navy aircraft carriers, USS Enterprise, USS Saratoga and USS Lexington, were hit because they were out of Pearl Harbor during the attack. But as the aircraft carrier was the more strategic weapon during the Pacific War, the Empire of Japan was already defeated. And the response of every American citizen, every American soldier about this terrible tragedy will be terrible for the Japanese Empire. So if you like this video, people of USA, people of England and so on, people of around the world, you may subscribe to my channel. Tell me in the commentaries what you like and what you want me to speak about in other videos. So, as I always say in the end of my video, remember, history is you who makes it.